All right, everybody, welcome back. This is going to be episode 2 of Project War Machine. We're going to actually do some stuff in this episode. I realized in episode 1 I really didn't do a whole lot of work. I really more talked about what the project was going to entail and showed you some of my parts that I got and all that type of stuff. This one, we're going to go over the donor floor. Actually, we're going to show taking the cab off of the 77. Going to go over the donor floor that I've got, show you what I had to do to get that prepped and ready to start going into the 77 truck. Some of the things I found along the way. So watch along. Hope you like it. If you do, subscribe, hang out. It's going to be a lot of episodes to this. I got a lot of work to do. It's coming along quickly. Please be patient. As you've no doubt figured out, I am not Steven Spielberg. Okay, I don't make YouTube videos for a living. I feel like I'm getting a little better at it. Just, trying to figure out how to do this and be more comfortable in front of the camera and talking to y'all. So subscribe, follow along. If you have any questions or anything like that, post them in the comments, email me, hotrodk5@hotmail.com. Hope you find it interesting. Basically, this is the cab of the 77. Obviously, I've got it off the frame, got it on the rolling cart, got it in the house, got going on it. Took a plasma cutter initially and chopped out the largest part of the floor and the firewall so I could get down. I left about, I don't know, 2 or 3 inches all the way around the inside so I could go back and clean it up after the fact and grind it off so I didn't damage any of the metal that I was hoping to reattach the new floor. I'll take the camera, I'll kind of show you inside. I've got it all trimmed up and cleaned up, ready to receive the new floor that I'm gonna put in it. So I'll grab the camera, take you on a little tour on the inside there, see how I got it cleaned up. All right, so as you can see, we cut it flush with the inside of the A-post all the way to underneath the cowl. Still got to do a little bit of cleaning up under here. All the way along the inside of the door jamb, cut it flush with the inner rocker. Back here, cut all the supports out from the factory 77 floor because I'm going to use that from the 2000 model from the donor truck. All the way across the back of the cab here, everything's cleaned up. I didn't get too crazy cleaning it up because I'm really not sure just exactly how far yet I'm going to have to come up into this cab to get the body to sit where I want on the chassis. Now you'll also see I put a piece of tubing in between both A-pillars. It shouldn't move, but just to be on the safe side, you don't want to end up having to jack this thing back out to try to square up body panels and clean all this up after the fact when you could have just very easily threw a little piece of bracing in there initially. Cling! Here I am again. So, I got a donor cab from a guy that I know that owns a salvage yard. It's from a 2000 model Ford F450. It had a 7.3 diesel in it, so it's the same as my truck. This was a complete cab. It just was a rollover. The top of it was all damaged. I didn't care. I didn't need that anyway. All I'm going to use is the floor and the firewall from this. Now, I've already kind of whittled it down, knocked off all of the main stuff. So that I can get down to some of the fine trimming up before I start trying to fit it into the 77. So the goal with this is to fit the factory floor and firewall from the 2000 model inside the 77 cab That way I can use all the factory wiring harness, the factory dash, all the factory pedals, steering column, everything from the 2000 model. Plus I have all the accoutrements of the 2000 model, you know, heat, air conditioning, stuff like that. I'm too old to be hot in the summer or cold in the wintertime, and why would I be when I can just do this? So I'm going to start trimming up all the exterior stuff and get this guy ready. Basically, I'm going to use my grinder. I'm going to grind all the spot welds off. That way, keep this clean. That way, I've got a good surface to make to the inside of the other cab. All right, so I'm going to give you a little bit of insight into what I'm trimming off of this thing. Obviously, it's upside down right now. You can see the very top of the cowl panel right there. I'm going to trim that off. I'm hoping to mate the bottom side of that to the top side of the cowl on the 77. Now, I've also cut off all the exterior A-pillar and all the front support set come factory on the truck. They were already cut off anyway from when I got it from the salvage yard. You can see all this area right in here, all this has got to come off. This is all the pinch welds. I'm going to cut this off. I'm going to cut all this up through here off and get down to just this inner panel and get it cleaned up. This is kind of what I'm hoping to mount to the inner rocker on the 77. I think what I'm going to have to do is probably cut a 1/2 inch off of this flange here, and I think it will mate up just right. Now that's just some rough measurements that I've taken. Obviously a lot of it I'm going to have to figure out on the fly, because to my knowledge nobody's ever done anything like this before. Now I did notice this floor is made a lot the same as the 77 was. It comes up to right here, which is the same as the 77 was, ironically enough. I'm going to leave all the factory supports intact on the bottom of this. That way it will bolt back down on top of the frame of the 2000 model truck. Should bolt right down with no problem, and I should be able to just lower the 77 cab right over top of it. As you can see, the pinch weld on this thing is pretty raggedy and beat the hell up, so I'm going to have to do a little bit of straightening there. That's not a big deal. Ironically enough, I got this from a junkyard, and apparently this truck has been just killed in the left front A-pillar before, and it had a complete floor put in it. The guy, whoever did it, did an absolutely terrible job of doing it, and the welding is complete shit, and I'm going to have to redo all of it. I'm going to make a video about that on another day, but that gives you a good idea of what I'm about to clean up right now. All right, here we go. This is going to take way too long to film, and you're not going to want to watch it all either. So here we go. And all right, well, I've got the main part of the sides trimmed up where I want it initially. I'm still going to cut some more of it off. I've got to flip it over so I can cut the top part of the cowl off, but while I've got it to this point, I'm going to go ahead and pressure wash it real good and get all the underside clean, underside of the floor, the firewall, all that good clean. That way I don't have to flip it back over again, because it's kind of heavy and I'm only one person. So. Alright, so as you can see, I've got all my spot welds ground. Got most of it broke loose, ready to pop up off of there. You can see I made some black lines right there, there. All right, so the reason for that is because those guys right there are what the dashboard mounts to. So I'm going to cut those off. I've marked where they were underneath so that I can come back, clean that off, and
re-weld them there once I get it all cleaned up and get everything kind of mocked up and in place. All right, everybody, so here we are. I've got it all washed up. I got the cowl all cut off of it. Still gotta pop those little pieces off there. They're ground clean, but I got the cowl, the top section of it all cut off, as you can see here. Now we move over here to Bob the Butcher's fine work. Most of this guy's welds I can just grab and snatch free. It's pretty terrible. But you can see along through here, you can see the burn spots and stuff where he tried to weld at it. All through here. Now, what I'm going to do, right along this gap here, where the floor welds to this outer section, I'm going to go along through there, and I'm going to drill through from the outside in, and drill all the way through each panel, and drill out all of his garbage welds. And I'm going to go ahead and take this A-post inner pillar off, and take this inner rocker. I'm going to take that off of both sides. Then get a good measurement on it. From what I can tell so far, looks like at the front of it, if I go right here at this seam, it's pretty close to the measurement between the inner rockers on the 77. The back of the 77 is a little bit wider than this one, but I can just make a new flange for that. I'm gonna have to tie in all the cross members and everything to the inner rockers anyhow. So that's where I'm at right now. So now I'll probably start grinding and drilling for a few days. I'm gonna spare y'all all of that. We'll come back after I get at least one side of it all drilled off and cleaned up a little bit, and kind of see where we're at that point. All right, so finally got everything trimmed off of this where I want it now. Cowls off, got both A-pillars off. Saved both A-pillars because there's a section up at the front that's covered by the kick panels where the parking brake mounts are, the fuel shut-off switch, things like that. I'm gonna graft them into the 77 cab once we get going. Now I'm gonna go around the 50 grit roll lock disc and clean up where all the welds were, clean the flange up real good, clean up some of this old garbage welds and seam sealer and all that crap. Come back, hammer and dolly it all nice and straight and flat. That way, whenever I get it located inside the new cab, I've got a good flange there to build all my new metal to hold it inside the truck. So I'm gonna mask up and put on some eye protection and clean up a little metal. Time to do a little bit of hammering and dollying, make sure all this metal's nice and straight. I got all the crap cleaned off of it so I can get a good weld to it. So on to the next thing. All right, so here we are. Got all the old welds and everything from Bob the Butcher. I went ahead and split all that. Got everything all cleaned up, ground off. Got a little bit of hammer and dollying to do to kind of straighten up the flanges a little bit. If you're wondering what that is on there, I grind it all off and get the metal all clean. I don't use weld through primer. I use it, I don't know, several years ago I used to use it some, but weld through primer doesn't really give you any corrosion protectant. It will help you a little bit on your welds, but more often than not, it just didn't seem to weld very good, and then the areas between the welds never really got protected like I wanted. So I use just a spray-on acid etch.
You don't have to put a lot of it on there. Just a light dusting is plenty. It's got acid that bites into the metal and will keep it from rusting. That way you do have some corrosion protectant on it. So that's our floor and firewall. Completely prepped, ready to go into our donor vehicle. Took a little while to get it there because that grinder that I use, that belt sander at work, we've got a screw compressor, and that thing is you really take for granted how much air that puts out, because my 60-gallon compressor just couldn't keep up. So I'd run it for a little while, and then I'd have to stop and go do something else for a little while, let the poor air compressor catch up to it. Maybe one day down the line I'll step up and get one with a little higher CFM rating. That's an old compressor. It's been around a while, but it's been a good one though. So